Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your host, Sarah. And today I have it's been several years now, friend on
I think
Instagram,
so.
Brianne
Yeah.
Key, so this is how I remember it. I met you through my ex-wife's best friend,
Okay.
right? That is how we got connected because you were facilitating some work through a program that person was putting on. I was facilitating some work through a program that person was putting on, and then that is how we got connected.
Yes. Yes. Wow.
I know.
That's a lifetime ago.
That was like a very different, non-authentic version of me. So I'm so excited that we're still connected.
Can
So
relate.
yes, yes. Brianne is a trauma-informed healing facilitator, and Brianne's going to share, yeah, your journey with us. Tell us like who you are, what you're about. What are you here to share?
So, hello. I have been practicing various forms of trauma-informed healing for about 13 years, ranging from I'm a certified massage therapist, so like deep tissue, cupping, hot stones. I'm trained in light work. I'm a Reiki master. I do like central nervous system peer support. In the that can be in the form of just sitting with people and talking during their sessions. I do oracle readings, which can be really in depth and really insightful, and they're all really intuitive. So it's not the traditional like, let me tell you the love of your life or where you're gonna die. It's more of what in your atmosphere is keeping you from moving forward, holding you back? What do you want to call in that's going to help you actually feel like things are attainable? How are you going to prioritize taking care of your mental health? How are you going to hold yourself accountable for this? How are you going to tighten up your energetic boundaries if you are overextending yourself and taking accountability for your burnout? So it's all geared towards ways to improve our love and care for our nervous system via me pulling really wonderful cards from my fun decks. And it's like, I think I tell people it's me having a conversation with your higher self, and you get to actually sit and be present and hear what's happening and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And you have had readings with me, and I think that we've bonded and gotten a little bit closer because of some of those readings and being able to sit with the hard stuff that comes up and being able to take accountability and being able to cry and being able to be vulnerable and being able to show love, tenderness, and compassion to ourselves and each other. And ultimately, that's what I want for like all my clients, myself, the people in my life who give me and bring me joy, who push me closer to feeling more healed and valuable every day and contradicting the traumatic ways in which I was raised and grew up. My family struggles with mental health, suicidal ideation, undiagnosed BPD, PTSD, CPTSD. We rely heavily on unhealthy coping mechanisms, dysregulated conversations, screaming matches, manipulation, gaslighting. It's very strong in the ways that my family holds generational trauma and doesn't do anything to heal it. And I'm one of, if not the only, like first person aside from my brothers in my family to do any of this healing and to take accountability and to really work on genuinely dismantling some of these super negative and violent and aggressive storylines that have played in my head and in my cells since I was little. I had I had a very emotionally incestuous mother who really struggles with what I understand is bipolar disorder. And it tends to take her to a place of extreme, aggressive, degrading narcissism, and everybody is wrong and she is right because she needs to be built up and has this really inflated need to need to be valued, even if that means that you're devalued to make her feel more valued. And she really struggles to regulate her emotions and to speak in a way that's not attacking and demeaning and degrading. And it all really stems from a place of her never making peace with not loving herself, not liking herself, not wanting to be in her own skin. And she makes that everybody's problem. And growing up in that and being an only child with her for the first 2 years of my life, it's really left this mark on me where I've now about 15 years into my healing journey and therapy, countless hours of EMDR therapy and talk therapy and naturopathy and countless hours of light work training, which you have to do your own work in the trainings in order to hold space for other people. So I also chose a career without really knowing what I was choosing. I chose a career where I could literally do nothing but this work in order to facilitate it for others. Um, I've recently stepped away from the term of healer because I don't feel like I am healing anyone. That's not my role. I am holding radical divine space for you to feel safe enough and loved enough and regulated enough to do your work, and creating that consistent pattern. As my EMDR therapist once explained to me, we have those bridges in our brains that got fractured when we were children. And now, as adults, we're trying to rebuild and restructure these bridges that never got fully formed. And our poor little inner children are still sitting on the other side of the bridge, waiting for a way to cross over. And they need us to step into the role of parent because our parents couldn't do it. And so I was called to be a parent to myself and my younger siblings at a very young age. And it really, and I think a lot of people who are autistic, undiagnosed, unsupported, who are older children or in charge of caring for other children and raising a parent emotionally and psychologically, we're forced to develop this insane sense of emotional literacy and intelligence. And later in life, it gets really hard to connect with people on a deep level because I feel like sometimes it can come off as neediness or the constant need for validation or being too touchy-feely or too much in someone's space and bubble. But it's really just how you function is by deeply understanding people emotionally is how you show love because you were not shown that courtesy growing up, but you had to do it in order to anticipate the needs of others and raise them because that's what parents do. So at 5 years old, that's what I was doing with my mom. And then we had my brothers, and then she moved from one marriage to another, and all the marriages were to men who were not healthy and also just as dysfunctional as she was. So like there was no actual parent in my household ever except for me. And that would manifest as me acting out or having big emotional outbursts and being told I'm too sensitive or too much when it's really like, no, I am overstimulated, I am overloaded. There's no space for me to breathe, exist, be a person, understand that I'm still a child, having to learn all of these adult things so that I can survive in this household. It would manifest as physical. I have induced asthma, which is asthma that only occurs when I am in a high stress situation or when I'm so dysregulated that I literally forget to breathe. I have severe sleep apnea and have since childhood. I literally stop breathing 17 to 20 times an hour, and it's been that way since I was 2 or 3. And all of these things are ways that my body has manifested processing, holding, and carrying trauma. Suicidal ideation, and when I get to the point of feeling extremely overwhelmed, I just want things to stop. No plan, no executing, just I need things to stop because I literally can't breathe. I can't see, I can't think, I can't. Nothing feels good on my skin. I don't even know if I want to be held, just complete internal meltdown. And then you add autism overstimulation, burnout from working and owning a business, and being a single income household who's disabled. And it's a mess. And somewhere in there, I've been able to carve out this little pod of truth to just kind of cling to and keep evolving on, and find some sense of identity and self and worth, and be able to attract others who are in the same boat and are working on their own stuff. And we just love on each other. And I've managed to turn that into also a career where I am of service to countless wonderful people who range from everything between surviving sexual trauma, domestic violence, generational racial trauma, mental dysregularities, mental disorders, postpartum, just general overwhelm, not knowing how to set boundaries so they can actually self-care and even know what their body needs, let alone that they have a body and that they can live in it and anticipate what they might need. People with a lot of chronic illness and chronic inflammation. I'm a person that lives with chronic illness and chronic inflammation. Um, I had to have my thyroid removed. I have this sick ass scar on my throat from having my thyroid removed last June, which was a goiter officially. It was like 15 centimeters, and I think the average one is supposed to be like 6 to 8 centimeters. And it was crushing my larynx. It was creating so much dysregularity. I had no idea that a lot of the physical things that I was going through all of my life, I thought were because I was too fat or I was too this or I was too that. And it was literally my thyroid manifesting so many painful things, and needing to be removed. And I didn't have access to health insurance for a long time. So I've had to live in all of these different marginalized ways, and cultivating this practice for myself and with others has formed as a radical way to like save myself through all of this in a nutshell.
You speak so beautifully. Yeah, for people listening, I have had a few readings and I have been the thing that most recently sat that I've been sitting in, and you mentioned bridges, is what is the bridge from experiencing shame to experiencing shamelessness? And I talked about that on a podcast recently. I don't know what the steps are yet, but like when you talk about your work, it's much more than just a reading, right? It's like that has literally sat with me for a month now. Like this is something that I think about every single day. This is something that I'm like writing about, talking to people about, right? So I just want you to know the influence that you have in people's lives and the work that you do and how powerful it is. Um, I was wondering, are you no contact with your mom?
We're minimal contact. We're minimal contact. I every time I think, ooh, we don't know how much time she's got left, like we should reach out and touch base, then one of my brothers will have had a conversation or an interaction with her recently at that time and be like, oh no, she acted a fool. And I'm like, cool, great, she's fine. Somebody checked in on her. That's all that matters. I pay my phone bill that's still in her name, every month, but really it's pretty minimal right now because she still doesn't know and doesn't really want to take the genuine, consistent steps to be a safe person.
Do you identify with that like eldest daughter syndrome?
Oh, yeah, I do. I really, really do. And like, I think if maybe my brothers had been born a little bit earlier, but it was like I was the eldest daughter, but then the only child with her for like 7 years before the first sibling was born. And so in that 7 years, like I said, she was really emotionally incestuous and would rely on me in all these big emotional ways. that I would have to like read into. There's a lot of codependency in our relationship, which also feeds a lot of the needing to be minimal contact. Because when we are together for too long, I start regressing immediately back into a place where I have to be heightened, I have to be loud, I have to be aggressive like a lion and make sure she knows because it's, you know what I mean? It's, I don't even have words for it, but it's a lot. So, the less we interact, the better. I can be better to her, she can be better to me, and nothing gets said that doesn't need to be said. We don't have to go down that road. I don't have to remember it, relive it. She also has a lot of cognitive dissonance because of her overwhelming amount of trauma that she also has partly dealt with, but then also hasn't dealt with. Um, and was basically a very traumatized Black woman raising children and being married to men who basically were not suitable partners and putting herself through school, getting, two bachelors and a master's. And most of my childhood was spent being toted around to her biochem classes and her statistics classes. And to see her brain degrade to a point where I don't think she remembers most of that information anymore. She's a full-on scientist, and the person that I see now doesn't have that same fire at all. And it's really heartbreaking because it makes me feel like, well, shit, guess I gotta have it for everybody. you know, oh my gosh, I don't know how to make peace with that. So I'll just keep making mine bigger, and maybe it'll rub off on her one day, and she'll find hers again by watching me from a distance.
Mm. Yeah, when we model that for other people, it's pretty hard for them to ignore it. They have to really want to ignore it.
It it is big on the want deliberately, and that she really relies on that dissonance and just like removing whole realities from scenarios. And I'm like, wow, to like literally pick and choose what you want to remember, but like genuinely not remembering the other parts where we're recapping to you and you're getting defensive because they're not what you want to hear. And that's why your mind blanked them out because you were making everybody miserable. Like, I think there's a lot of guilt that she can't sit with, and it makes being with herself impossible.
Mm.
And I think that is something we've all when we live with these things and shame and self-doubt and sexual trauma and neglect and emotional neglect, I think we all experience those things. So it's really relatable, but they're also all things that we have to take accountability for healing down the line.
Mhm.
And there is a lot of accountability that she is not willing to take.
Mm. Yeah. Can you define emotional incest for people who don't know?
So emotional incest is when you, as an adult, rely heavily and emotionally on validation, regulation, any major emotional factor in a child or an adolescent or someone significantly younger than you. It can also be something that can be tied to grooming because you build this super hostile, manipulative bridge of tug of war with someone where they're anticipating all of your emotional needs, your breakdowns, your dysregulations, all of it over their own, if they even recognize they have an own. And it really becomes about hyper emotional codependence, where you're like emotionally tied to each other. And it's really toxic, it's really manipulative, it's really volatile, and it's really inappropriate.
Mhm.
And it's like because she didn't have a stable partner for a long time and it was just me and her, it was easy for her to kind of keep this bubble around us where she would confide in me or depend on me in ways where she needed to put that energy towards finding other adult friends. And I became her best friend as a child instead of being her child and her having adult relationships.
Mhm. which is so romanticized. It's just,
Yes.
it's such a romantic idea for your daughter to be your best friend.
The perfect example, I lived for the Gilmore Girls. I love the Gilmore Girls
I
so
knew
much.
it. I knew you were going to say that.
You know it. I wished that there was so many years where I dissociated into these shows because my big dissociation factor is disappearing into television and social media and pop culture. So like I am hyper aware of like TV shows, movies, lyrics, music because that's how I cope with living is by consuming media. And growing up, that's how I would survive and dissociate into. And one of the shows was absolutely Gilmore Girls. I wished for so long that me and my mom could be like Lorelai and Rory Gilmore until I was an adult doing this work, and I was like, oh no, they're super unhealthy. Rory is a freaking narcissist.
Yep.
They're so codependent.
Hmm.
I, oh my God. And there is no reason why Rory should know that much emotional stuff about her mother at that age.
Hmm.
It's just not. And the way that I love Amy Sherman Palladino, but the way that that relationship was so romanticized and normalized in their tiny little cult ass dreamlike town that we as the viewers thought it was normal. And I wish I had that relationship with my mom. No, baby, no.
Yes. I know
Perfect
watching it
example.
back as an adult is like
Cringe,
so wild. Yeah.
cringe.
Because like, especially if you watch the bullshit, Four Seasons thing that they did 10 years ago or
Yeah,
whatever.
yes, yes.
Rory can literally do no wrong. She's having an affair with a man with a fiance. She's forgetting about her boyfriend. She's like having this really inappropriate, like professional type relationship with this bonkers lady. But but she can do no wrong. Like
She can
Lorelai
do no
believes
wrong.
she is perfect.
Literally, like that inflated sense of look what I created. Because Lorelai also has this weird relationship with her own image, stemming from her super ridiculous parents.
Yes.
And the fact that they have weekly dinners and you can literally see all of the different toxic personalities. And we get lost because Amy writes this incredible dialogue. The banter gets you because it's so fucking funny that you forget these people are deeply, horribly traumatized and not okay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
again, living in a town that is too small, not accessible to the outside world, and is like everyone knows each other's name and business. It's disgusting. No, absolutely not. Don't look at me.
Yeah. It's a In some ways, it's a beautiful example of how community can show up. And in
Yes,
other ways, it's very incestuous.
yes.
No boundaries.
None at all. And I am very much a like few boundaries. There's not much I won't talk about or divulge, but like with consent. There was like no consent on that show. No one ever talked about consent, even when it came to the intimate aspects of the show. And I will never forgive Rory for letting her beautiful friend just like move away and didn't even like celebrate her. Like, I don't understand because I would never do that behavior. It doesn't make sense to me.
No. Well, and that's indicative of the work that you have done, right? Is like your mom probably would have wanted you to have a Lorelai and Rory type relationship because that would have served her own needs for validation, right? But like you
Absolutely.
have done in the last 15 years so much unlearning and developing your own processes and sense of self and all of these things. And so I think that's a testament to your work.
Thank you. I really I am determined to not come back into this realm and do another lifetime here. I for those who believe in like multiple lifetimes and kind of coming and going, we're all energy, and I firmly believe that we kind of come into these bodies with a role, and sometimes we figure out what that role is, and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we got to come back a couple times and redo it. And I don't know, I don't think I've like relived a lot of this exact experience, but I've definitely lived a few lifetimes in this realm of capitalism and trauma and having to raise adults or raise people. Like I feel like I've definitely been a parent in some form or fashion in every life, and my soul's just tired. You know, I really want to be done after this for a while. I want to be able to recharge and just go float around the ethers for 3 billion years. Like, I don't want to come back and do this again with her or anybody else. So I'm like really trying to be conscious and really intentionally mindful of the things that I want to reprogram so deeply within me that on a cellular level, we will never have to do these lessons again.
Yeah, I was just listening to someone else talk about that concept the other day of like each lifetime the goal is to learn your purpose, and once you have learned your purpose, you don't have to repeat it. And I, I too don't want to come back and do this.
Yeah, please,
I'm done.
please.
Let me do my 80 years or
I'm
whatever.
tired.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the things that you wanted to talk about, and it's as an outsider, I'm like, I cannot even believe that this person struggles with imposter syndrome because I look at you and I'm like, no, you know your shit. And you have like, you are so articulate and you have such a strong understanding of systems and humans. And so the fact that you struggle with imposter syndrome is a reminder that we all do, but like, talk to me about it. Tell me about it.
Absolutely. So one, I very traditional Black Southern family, little tiny history, tiny, not really tiny at all, but a little history. My ancestors migrated from the Jim Crow South, to the West, so I am a California native. Um, grew up partially in Compton. So like when you go back and you see the TV shows about the 50s and the 60s and the great migration of Black people fleeing the South and landing in Las Vegas and Los Angeles and all over California, that was real and that happened. That is an actual piece of history, and my ancestors did that. And we ended up in Pasadena and Altadena, where yes, I did lose my childhood homes in the fires recently. Devastating because some of those homes were the first homes that they purchased when they got here. And having all that cellular crap in my system and being a queer child from the get-go and having a very, very intolerant, again, Black Southern, terrified, needed to conform ass family. A lot of them did not accept that I was queer and very much was constantly taking me to church, forcing me in Sunday school. So like I largely when my mom left LA and moved us out to Orange County on marriage number three to my stepdad, he was Catholic. So then we all had to be Catholic after being raised Baptist, Lutheran, Episcopal, and we overnight were going from deep spiritually rooted in slavery Black church to full on Catholicism. Very weird, and another place that I couldn't be gay. And so the imposter syndrome and identity issues come from largely from religious trauma and being treated by people that I adored as less than because of my orientation, as a child. And living most of my life saying that I was hetero or, I love women, I appreciate them so much, but I don't like eating puss. That's a lie. I love eating puss. I don't like, oh my God, the beautiful, most gayest experiences that I've had, I'll just like stop midway and I'm like, damn, if 13-year-old Bree could see me now, they'd be like, I fucking do it. And everybody said that I was wrong and she didn't do that, but you look like you're having a great time. Like a great time. And I just the lies that I would tell myself because my family didn't accept me, so of course nobody else would, or take me seriously. And then tie that into going from being raised in a really Black family to being in all white communities and being moved to Orange County where it was all white. And I was literally one of three Black people in my entire middle school for many years. And my mother marrying a white man who had had no experience with Black culture or raising a Black family or raising Black stepkids. And it was just like overnight, our entire Negro identity was just like reprogrammed. And so a lot of that plays into who am I? I currently live in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is predominantly white. I am one of the only Black massage therapists in town, and I am like the only Black massage therapist that's trauma informed that does this work. And I will tell you in just one sentence, I will never get the accolades that my white counterparts have gotten in this town. I have been chased out of this town and had to leave and go live in Kansas City for a few years to find more of my identity and attracted a really beautiful and incredible Black community of healers, which then got ripped from me for different traumatic circumstances. And I was gaslit and blamed for that for a long time, flared up my suicidal ideation. And that's how I ended up back in Lincoln trying to rebuild because I do have a client base here. It is one of the states with the cheapest cost of living, so I can live alone in safety. But the history that I've had with this town has been really problematic. And I thought that living in Orange County was horrible. And it's not the same. Orange County's massive compared to Lincoln, Nebraska. And it's not even the same culture, the same energy, the same wavelength, but the experiences in racism, microaggressions, and lack of support, care, and recognition that I experience is fucking the same. That didn't change at all. I changed, but nothing else really did, except my zip code. And so when you pile all that together into one cute little package with a bow with glitter on it, of course, you get imposter syndrome. And I have a business where I have to literally rely on external sources in order to pay my bills. I have to book people, I have to engage with them, and then I need to hold space, talk them through it, hold space for whatever they need, hold space for explaining who I am and what I can do, and doing all the clerical. I'm a full on independent entrepreneur, self employed fully, and disabled. And it is very rewarding work. I don't want to do anything else. I've struggled having other jobs because this is what I want to do with my life. But it is exhausting. And I don't always have the support that I need. Most of the time that I've had this career, I've had to beg for resources, fight tooth and nail for resources, or just live without and develop my own. It's very isolating. It can be extremely lonely. And no one else is doing this work the way that I am. I'm in completely my own lane, which totally suits my Aquarius ass personality. But when living it and cultivating it, it is really isolating. And that also fucks with who am I? Why did I choose this? Why did I think I could do this? Who the fuck do I think I am? God? You know, coming back to that over and over again because beating myself up is easier than trying to hold the world accountable for making me feel less than. Because when I tried to do that, I nearly died. I was burnt out. I was exhausted. People took advantage of me. People took advantage of me. And it just, like all those experiences definitely even shaped the chronic illness that I live with today and the chronic inflammation. I'm the most regulated I've ever been, especially without my thyroid. And at the same time, I am able to be the sickest I've ever been because my body and mind are finally safe enough to actually focus exclusively on my illnesses instead of surviving and having to put my illnesses on the back burner and making my body keep going. It's definitely been like hell and high water cultivating this authentic persona, and there's still layers of Bree that I'm getting to know every day, because we're not the same person we were a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, yesterday, the day before, last year. We are constantly changing. We are constantly evolving. We are constantly, every minute of the day, reprogramming negative self-talk, a false truth. Parts of our ego are falling away, and parts of our higher self are coming back in, or parts of higher self are falling away, and parts of ego are coming back in. We're constantly being challenged by the status quo, by capitalism, by racism, by ICE, by the government, by being queer, and just not ever being told that it's okay to just live and exist. My clients love when I tell them, okay, now you get to go home and just exist. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, exactly. I really need you to go home and do nothing. I need you to take at least the next 2 hours to take a fucking nap, drink water, have a meal, take what I did, take what we did in this session on this table, and go sit in it for a little bit. And don't just go do more. Let your brain just be, because we finally got you to that place where you remembered that you could breathe. So try not to lose it again immediately. And if you do, come back. I tell clients that when they leave the table, my services don't just end there. If you have things that are going on a couple days later, sometimes we do deep, deep tissue. We're ripping fascia apart, and you are tender for a few days after. And like, it's okay for you to message me and say, I'm hurting, because then I will tell you ice, heat, anti-inflammatories, massage gun. I will give you tips and tricks for helping to remedy and repair some of that a little faster so you're not sitting in pain. We giving clients permission to not just be uncomfortable all the time, because our bodies will literally just adapt to whatever. Your body will just adapt if you're sick and don't remedy it. Your body will just adapt. And that's not what we want. We want to actually give healing time and space. We need at least a couple hours of sleep every night, and that's not possible for everyone, especially when we're in a manic state, in a triggered state. We're not fucking sleeping. When you have apnea, you're sleeping about 10% of the night, and 90% of the night you're fighting to breathe and not die. And sometimes that manifests for me as, oh, my brain's like, you're not breathing. Let me wake you up with a very visceral nightmare of you and your brothers burning in a car where you can smell the burning flesh. And then you wake up, okay, you're awake. I did my job. Now go back to sleep. No thanks. And when we live with some of these conditions, like that's really what it is. It's psychological warfare, just trying to get to from like a level 12 with your nervous system being at an all-time high to even a 7. And when I have a client that comes in and their nervous system's at an 11 and we get them down to a 9, that is a win. It's a win. And we're going to celebrate that win because you just did some work on this table and you let yourself feel safe enough, and you let me guide you through breath work and fascia manipulation to help get you here. You allowed. That's huge. And I don't think that people recognize how much it takes to get to that point, and how much we need to be able to get to that point. Thanks for
I
coming to my
know,
TED
like
Talk.
do you not hear yourself speak and think, I don't have to be an imposter? Like, I don't have to be. I get how
Yes,
deeply rooted in trauma it is. I hear how
yes.
deeply rooted in trauma, but tell me how you've combated the imposter syndrome and got into a place where you're more comfortable.
Um, Receiving validation when I do feel low, I'll tend to isolate, which is the worst thing you could do. So my community, my core community is really good about like we all talk at least once a day. I have several like group chats with three of us at a time where we're like, "What's up? How you doing? Hi, 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 hi." I have other independent friends who are also moving through super heavy things, and we'll just try to build each other up or at least check in and hold space to speak what's weighing on us and why we don't feel valuable, why we don't feel grounded in our sense of self. And sometimes even just speaking that to someone who loves you and naming it lightens the load and brings you back to the realization of, oh, this will pass. It's a temporary thing. I don't need to derail my whole life. I am seen, I am witnessed, I am heard. Yesterday I had a really rough day and realized after a week of canceling clients, because my inflammation and brain clutter was so loud that I didn't have the energy to work on people, which can be really harmful when you are self-employed and don't get vacation, paid time off, PTO, nothing. So taking a week off can be really damaging, but I've been doing pretty okay these last few months, thankfully. That I was actually able to be like, okay, and the scarcity plays a huge part of this. Scarcity, and scarcity fear of not having enough, being homeless, being hungry, not being able to pay for groceries. All those things are also factors that you're constantly aware of when you are dealing with mental stuff, physical stuff, and in charge of paying all your bills. And you're autistic. And remembering to go to the pharmacy to get your medications and yada, yada, yada. Um, so doing my resourcing that I learned in EMDR when I'm feeling really out of my body and like I shouldn't be here doing things because I'm just a child. I'm just a literal baby. What am I doing? And coming back into my body and rubbing my heart and remembering how wonderful my clients are, going back through messages where people have messaged me 2 days after their session and be like, oh my fucking God, you literally changed my life. I had one friend tell me I stitched their body back together in ways they didn't know was possible, and they have energy to like get out of bed in the morning. Just reading through the messages of people who love me yesterday was really hard, and I had been suppressing a lot of anger around the stuff going on in Minneapolis, and more specifically living in Lincoln, which is quite small and has literally like three main highways to get in and out. If martial law goes into effect here and any of those highways are closed, I'm fucked. I am an independent Afro-Indigenous ass person who lives in the middle of downtown, right by the Capitol, which is where all the state building things reside in. And I'm right by the governor's mansion, and our governor is terrible. And I just I've been really scared that if something happens, I don't have any family here in the state. I have community, but they're going to be focused on making sure they can get their stuff taken care of. And we don't have any kind of underground system to help take care of people, protect people, or look after the people who are less privileged or disabled or impaired or othered. And it was really hitting me like, oh my God, I've lived through this a couple of times, but never in a town this big, small. And I don't know what to do. And that is terrifying to me because I always, as someone who has been traumatized by people, I always have an exit plan. I never not know where my exits are. When I am on the road, I am aware. When there are police around me, I used to have to go to therapy for hyperventilating on the road when a police officer was around. Like, I never not have an exit plan. And for me to not have one right now is costing me sleep. And so yesterday I was like, I'm really active in my stories on my page. And that's how a lot of my clients and daily followers connect with me. And I just went off in like six different videos about what I have been harboring as an othered person in a town full of white privileged people who never have had the need to think about these things. or have been coming at this from a more performative aspect because they don't know what to do and don't know how to unify and rally, and really calling out, but also calling in. And like, we need go bags. We need nurses. What is the list? What is the cohesive way that we're going to go about getting people out of town on foot, on motor? Who needs a wheelchair? Who needs a fucking like excess oxygen tank? Like, I used to be a caregiver to the elderly and I used to be a nanny. How are we going to take care of these kids? Like, what are we going to do if ice is in your front yard? All of the highways are closed off and all we have are our nature trails that lead out of town and railroad tracks. What are we doing? I know y'all have watched The Walking Dead. What are we doing? And I kind of went off yesterday and actually like was able to let it out and receive like a really beautiful outpouring of messages from my white counterparts who serve on the city council to protect trans rights and trans children's rights to go to the bathroom safely, and who protect women's rights and our ability to get abortions, who are in every city council meeting screaming at our senators, screaming at our lawmakers. And they came in my DMs like, you have spoken in a way that is sitting with me so deeply that here's the chat that I started so we can start making this plan. And also things that I'm taking into account for the next meetings, because we also have in Lincoln we have the University of Nebraska, which is huge and houses 1 million international students. We have so many refugees in this town that I never see on the streets because they all kind of hover in their own safety zones. What are we going to do for them? What are we doing? And yesterday I was feeling a lot of that and got really tired of sitting in my house, letting it fester quietly in the form of like silent anxiety panic and lack of sleep. And so I just kind of purged it in my stories and felt like someone's gonna get mad at me, I'm gonna get in trouble, blah 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 blah. But it was really received in a way where every single person that I love, who I fuck with, who has access to me on that platform was like, speak it. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. We hear you. We see you. You are completely correct. Um, and having that validation when I've been sitting on these fears, I need to find out where the nearest Black Panther charter is to me. We have Black owned, Black run private security companies in Omaha, an hour away, that I would like to reach out to and see if we can facilitate some kind of like militia to help protect people and escort us out of town if we need to be. And those are not things that these white people have thought of because they don't realize they have access to that stuff. And so I've been sitting here trying to think of all these ways. And yesterday I was like, no, I'm tired. I have decision paralysis. I just had to apply for EBT and recertified for Medicaid under the big beautiful bill, and I still have to apply for temporary disability. I can't think of all this stuff. I need y'all to do something. And I voiced it. And I doubted it and I hated myself as I was speaking, but I just let it out. And it was really received in a way that I was like, wonder where I would have been if I just let that out 2 weeks ago when I was really starting to feel it. If I had would have been able to get a little bit more sleep instead of anticipating that I wouldn't be met with love, compassion, and understanding and action.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, as speaking as a white woman, I don't have to think about things the same way that you do, right? It's just not, I'll never have to. And so I think it's so important to be a part of the conversation with our Black and brown friends and say, what can we do with you? What can we do for you? Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know what the answers are with everything that's happening, but I do know that it's community that will save us.
100%. And I think that's where I was coming from. I've always known that no government is ever going to take care of us the way that we take care of each other and ourselves. That's just not how things are built. Our government and our institution, our constitution isn't built on compassion. It's built on power and it was written in a time of fucking slavery. So it doesn't hold much water in most marginalized communities, especially in immigrant communities. And I think one of the things I said in my vent yesterday was, have I had to flee from my own country? No. But have I had to flee within my own country? Yes, many times, many times with few to no resources, and still out here struggling to make a life for myself because I know that I deserve some quality of life and some safety. Because why else would I be here if I couldn't have those things in some degree?
Yeah, basic human right. I know for me,
Absolutely.
like that's one of my biggest, I was able to do a little bit of this last year, but one of my biggest dreams for my garden is like you talk about needing to apply for EBT, right? But if I could give you carrots that I've grown, if I can give you lettuce that I've grown, I want to be
Right,
able to do that.
right. Absolutely. And I am connected to so many beautiful individuals in this community who work with local food distribution, who work with keeping the community masked and COVID free, keeping the community fed. They're out there, rain or shine, every Sunday for 2 to 3 hours, literally handing out groceries, produce that people have grown um, all year round. And so they are the people that I'm in different um, conversations with to start making a plan and using the infrastructure that Minnesota has created with their underground network to just start implementing something. Because there are people with resources in this town, and I do know them.
Mhm.
Um, and that's more than I could say 10 years ago when I got here. I didn't have any community. I didn't know anybody. Nobody had my back. And now I have multiple communities where that's just not true. And so reminding myself that even when I am in fear, it's mostly just because I don't have family here and I do feel exposed a lot of the time. But that doesn't mean one of my friends called me today, and a lot of us happen to live in the same neighborhood. So most of my closest core people are within a few blocks of me. So we're like making a pact. We're coming to your house first. We're grabbing the cat. We're grabbing this. We're grabbing that. And we'll come here and convene. I have a basement. I have an attic. We have three other bedrooms. Like everybody's now starting to get at least our core plan together of how we're going to get each other to safety and then extend that out to the community. And that's what I needed because that's the kind of plan that I would have made if my family was here, if my brothers were here. And so not having them as that security blanket to plan with, I'm like, so will my chosen family plan with me? Is that something that we can do with each other? Can I ask that of you?
And you are
Yes.
so beautiful. Well, my friend, we're about at our time. What is one thing that you want people to take away from this conversation? There's so much I want people to take away, and I hope that um, and tell us where we can find you on the gram because I hope that people will follow up with you and really like if you're out of state, you can get readings from Bree and just connect. I love everything that you're doing, but what is one thing that you want people to take away from this conversation?
In this conversation, I think like the loudest thing that I can feel is remembering your worth being loved, your worth being invested in, you're worth asking for help, you're worth asking for care, you're worth asking for hugs. And until you believe it and start really working on that, nothing else is going to really flow for you. It really comes from that place of being able to sit with and love yourself. I know it seems real cliche, but it starts with you. It really does start with you.
Beautiful. Where can people find you?
So on really I'm mostly on Instagram under Sacred Transitions Healing LLC. Um and I'm really active in my stories. I kind of post on the actual feed once like a couple times a month, but I'm really active in my stories. I'm always active in my DMs. Um I do offer virtual readings and distance Reiki, which can all be done over Zoom, FaceTime, Instagram, video chat. So I do have services that can be done from the distance.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm not joking when I say that these readings have been like so impactful for me. So everyone listening, please follow Bree on the gram and connect. My friend, thank you so much for your time. I just love you and I just love watching everything that you're doing and your growth. And to see you in this place where you said I've been doing well the last couple of months, and to see you more stable is just like so life-giving. I love this. There's no such thing as stability for any of us right now, but like to see you more stable and more thriving
Yes.
is so beautiful.
Right back at you, friend. You're working hard, and I see you every day putting in that work to be better, do better, love yourself, and honor the people around you. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
Much love.
Yes, right back at you. Hi, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to the Bold, Beautiful Borderline podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode today. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your content. That is super helpful for me. It helps us find additional folks who want to listen to the show, want to feel seen, family members who want to learn, and partners who want to understand. If you want to follow along to more than just the podcast, find us on Instagram at Bold Beautiful Borderline, find me at Borderline from Hell, or head over to boldbeautifulborderline.com where there's information, resources, a place to leave a voicemail to be heard on the podcast, which I love, and just general content. All of that information can be found in the show notes. And if you want to get exclusive content, which is bonus episodes, journal prompts, worksheets, all sorts of extra stuff, sometimes videos of me with my hair very crazy with kind of impulsive borderline rants, head over to Patreon and consider becoming a member. That is super helpful with creating content that allows me to destigmatize BPD and all of the other wild mental health struggles that we discuss on the podcast. A huge thanks to everyone who joins on the podcast to share their story and just generally helps keep this thing alive. Especially my friend Corey Evans from the Evergreen Band. He produced and created the music that is the intro and outro for this show, as well as the cover art that was created by my husband, Talon Abbott. Their information is found in the show notes. All of the information discussed in the podcast is purely personal experience. This is not medical recommendations. This is not therapy recommendations. There's no producer for this show. It's all me.